Okay, so this is where we ended up on lesson 69, and we're just going to look at a couple more, or actually three more, examples of factoring a quadratic trinomial. All right, so if you look in the upper right corner, you have x squared plus 3x minus 10, and we start out by writing, oops, sorry about that, let's see. We start out by making two sets of parentheses, and we put x at the beginning of each one because that's going to be the first thing you multiply. X times x is x squared. All right, now we're looking for two numbers that are factors of 10. So we're going to look at the factors of 10. They are 10 and 1 or 5 and 2. So we need to figure out which pair there would we could manipulate in order to get 3, the x coefficient. They're supposed to add up to 3. 10 and 1 are never going to add up to 3, no matter what signs you put on them. You always get 11 or 9, or positive 11 or negative 11, or positive 9 or negative 9. But with the 5 and the 2, if you that you can get 3 with those two numbers. You want a positive 3 because that's the coefficient on x in your trinomial. And so you want a positive 5 and a negative 2 because 5 plus negative 2 gives you positive 3, and that's what you want. All right, the next one on the left side is negative 5x plus x squared plus 6. This one, before you even start trying to factor it, you need to get it in order from the highest power of x down to the lowest power of x. So you need to just switch around that x squared and that negative 5x so that now you have x squared minus 5x plus 6. All right, so you're going to start it by writing two pairs of parentheses, and the first thing in each one should be x because x times x is x squared. Now you need to look for two factors of 6 that will that you can add up to get negative 5. This one's a little bit tricky because if you look at the two pairs, 1 and 6, it's possible to get negative 5 with a 1 and a 6. It's also possible to get a negative 5 with a 2 and a 3. So you have to be careful and figure out which one is actually going to work. Now, when you have a trinomial like this, you've got a subtraction sign for the 5x. You've got minus 5x, and then you've got plus 6. Now remember, 6 is the product of these two numbers that are going to go in these blanks. So it's positive, which means that the two numbers you multiply together have to either be both positive or they have to be both negative, because that's the only way to get a positive when you multiply two positives or two negatives. So we know that to get the negative 5, they're both going to have to be negative. There's only two choices, either both positive or both negative. They have to be both negative if you want to get minus 5x. So have to think again which pair, 1 and 6 or 2 and 3, are going to allow you to get that negative 5 when they're both negative. And that's going to be the 2 and the 3 because negative 2 and negative 3 adds up to negative 5. All right, so it's the 2 and the 3 that you have to choose here to go into the blank. And then they have to both be negative so that you have negative 2 plus negative 3 makes negative 5, and then negative 2 times negative 3 gives you the positive 6. So that's the factorization for that trinomial. The next one is also out of order, so you need to switch it around. So the x squared is first, and then comes the x term, 6x, and then the 5. This looks almost exactly like the one before it, except that now you've got plus 6x and you've got plus 5. Now, the 6 and the 5 are switched. All right, so you're looking at the constant, which is 5, and you would look at the factors of 5. Well, there's only one pair of factors for 5, so it's easy to put them in because it's 1 and 5. There's no other choice. There are no other two numbers you can multiply together to get 5. All right, and since the 6x is a positive 6x, both of these are going to be positive. 1x plus 5x is 6x. All right, so that's factoring trinomials. You've got a lot of practice problems on that. Really practice. Be careful. Make sure that whatever you write actually does multiply out to give you that trinomial. If you made a mistake, when you FOIL this, it's not going to come out to be the trinomial you started with. So sometimes it's a good idea to just double check and make sure that it is going to multiply out to be what it was supposed to be.